Trot. I'm Jason Gilba, JGilba11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at the DraftKings slate for tonight. 4-game main slate, pretty small, but a fair amount of pitching. I mean, there's only really two weaker arms to target, confidently against, while the rest are pretty strong options.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Yuli Chacin, he gets the Indians tonight. So not only is it a target, but it's like an extra heavy, lead-filled, your balloon is deflating type matchup for Yuli Chacin. He might retire after this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little extreme.
That was an extreme analogy, so I had to go extreme.
It was. I mean, perfect words, I guess, or the words that were kind of jumbled around of what you said there.
His lead-filled hot air balloon. I tossed a lead. No, we're done.
Yeah, that was a very poor way to describe his matchup tonight.
Yeah. Well, there are, as long as I can get the basic nuts and bolts of what I was trying to say out there, I think people will understand. But yeah, this was rough. This was
I don't even know. I wouldn't even give you that.
The hot air balloon going down, lead and stuff, and
yep. Sorry, I'm not helping you out there. Red Sox and Yankees first one. Eduardo Rodriguez taking on Michael Pineda. Obviously, the Red Sox line has dropped dramatically from where it was last night with him pitching, and obviously a possible absence of Mookie Betts and David Ortiz. Yankees run total has bumped up a little bit. I'm okay with some of the right-handers there. I'm still not really in on paying a 4.6 for Brett Gardner. Obviously, I'm fine with some of the right-handers there in GPPs. And we talked about the Alex Rodriguez narrative of being on his way out and playing his last game there at Fenway.
2,800 is a tough sell, Bob. I don't think we can go with him. It's much easier to fit in on FanDuel for sure. But this Yankees team, Rodriguez is still a below-average arm. Even though it is a lot of lefties at the top there, I think this is a viable stack in a 4-game slate. In a 6-game slate, no, probably not. But I think in a 4-gamer, I could see myself doing a deep tournament stack with the top of this Yankees order.
Yeah, I mean, I don't find Rodriguez's price to be all that crazy. I mean, he's basically nearly a punt play, and same thing with kind of Starlin Castro at 3,200. And basically all these guys, I mean, Teixeira even at 3-1 is, near bare minimum there. So I'm okay with using them. As you mentioned, Rodriguez kind of a below-average arm at this point, even though he's pitched a little bit better. Still not solid against right-handed bats and still gives up a fair amount of home runs. So I'm fine with targeting the Yankees and GPPs. I think kind of the other teams there I'm looking at more in cash.
Yeah, exactly. But just stick to tournaments with them, I think.
As far as the Red Sox go, I'm okay with their prices here. I think they're pretty solid. Obviously, you're taking Mookie Betts and Ortiz out of the lineup, who are both over 5K. But when you put in a Hanley at 3-1, given the fact that Pineda has a ton of home runs to right-handed bats, 1.41 home runs per 9 since 2015, I'm obviously okay with using the Bogarts, Pedroia, Hanley grouping, especially at those prices below 4K.
Yeah, I think that little grouping there is a great start. And I even so we're talking about the end of the lineup a little bit more here, but I mean, I think as you mentioned on FanDuel, Andrew Benintendi, if he's up in the lineup, he's only 2,400. We're kind of looking at Jackie Bradley as well at 4K. I'm okay with that. It just depends on how that lineup's constructed, but I mean, even a Brock Holt at 29 up at the top. I think there's a lot of different ways to go with this Red Sox lineup, even though it's clearly not nearly as strong as it normally would be.
Yeah, and I think Vegas, I mean, still projecting over 5 runs for them. I'll take that lightly. Obviously, Pineda, I mean, he's kind of a boomer bust type arm. So obviously, I will have my Red Sox, shares, but it's far from a sure thing as it has been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Angels and Indians next year, Corey Kluber versus Julio Chacin. Indians bats are always priced up much higher here on DraftKings, and they are. And I think the Jose Ramirez price just tells you it all about about how they price the Indians, given he's 5,200.
Hey, they got over the 26K mark for the top five. So yeah, that's expensive to fit in there. I don't know how viable that is. But the top four, I really like. Obviously, I think that's going to be super chalky on this 4-game slate. But that's not scaring me away from investing heavily in this offense. One through seven at the very least.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, they're not quite the same value. There wasn't a ton. There basically really is no value outside of Chisenhall at 4-1, and that's kind of more of a mid-tier price. Um, I probably will, just given the fact that there are top price pitching tonight, it's going to be something that maybe I try and get one or two in, and kind of work my way around with cheap Red Sox and Royals. But it's not. It's gonna be tough for me to stack here on DraftKings with them. Obviously, you'd have to kind of pay down and probably use like an Eduardo Rodriguez or something to do that.
Yeah, totally agree.
So I'm definitely okay with that. Chacin, I mean, struggles against lefties, 355 WOBA since last year, 37% hard ball rate. Definitely a friendly way to target them.
Yeah, his never mind.
Angels here, I'm not really looking to use. Corey Kluber is one of my favorite arms that I'm looking to deploy tonight, just especially because he's a little bit cheaper than Duffy, and kind of just 700 more than Lester. I like Kluber quite a bit.
Yeah, and Trout at 5K kind of makes things a little easier to stomach here. I don't really need to invest in him, and then the rest of the lineup's pretty easy to fade. So overall, I think of the things to fade tonight, the Angels lineup is going to be the one I'm really looking to totally probably not get any exposure to.
Yep, I definitely agree. Cardinals and Cubs, John Lester versus Carlos Martinez. This one obviously an interesting game because you do have top arms as far as the teams go in their rotation, but obviously two lineups that can do well. The Cardinals don't rank well against lefties, and I'm just kind of looking to pick on a few guys, like a Stephen Piscotty, like a Jed Jerko, just because their prices are so low and they do hit southpaws pretty well.
Yeah, I like that call at the end there. 2,600 for Yurko. He's been a cafe value fan over the last few days. And in general, I just think that's more of a leverage play than anything else with this Cardinals team. I'm not really as big of a fan of Lester as I am Duffy and Kluber, so I'm much more willing to get exposure to Cardinals than I am the other two.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Out of the teams facing kind of other above-average pitching, I'm much more inclined to kind of use Cardinals as far as the right-handed bats against Lester than I am looking to use against Kluber. I don't mind some White Sox bats, but the way Duffy has pitched, it's obviously not optimal.
Right.
As far as the Cubs go, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the price tags. It's something that if I'm paying those prices, I'm fine with just moving over to Cleveland, just because they're not too far off. But obviously the Cubs, guys like Bryant and Rizzo, should still be in play just given their upside.
The Indians' ownership in cash tonight is going to be bonkers. I mean, we're going to be seeing 50, 60% on the reg from the top five there. But yeah, no, this Cubs team, I really like this grouping. It's not a perfect matchup. I do like Martinez as sort of a contrarian pitcher tonight, but at the same time, if things go as they should, I think he should get chipped away at throughout the game here. And Rizzo, Bryant, Zobrist. I mean, Zobrist really the best value there, but overall, it's just a super expensive stack, you know?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm not really in on the value that the bottom half bring. I'm just kind of looking to use Royals if I'm diving down in value, just because Russell, Hayward, Baez are three guys that, against right-handed pitching, they haven't fared well this year. It's just kind of something I'm looking to just move away from.
For sure.
White Sox and Royals, Danny Duffy versus Miguel Gonzalez. And the Royals bats are value here too, and you expect them to kind of be worked in and out of Cleveland bats in cash games. And that's my plan for tonight. Using an Eric Hosmer, Lorenzo Cain, Salvador Perez. I think those are kind of three guys that I'm really keying in on in cash, especially against Miguel Gonzalez, who is quite average against both sides of the plate.
Yeah, this is I wrote about them in the stacking article, but it's just kind of like in order to fit the guys you want to fit in, you're going to need some of these value Royals, I think. if not maybe some of the value Red Sox. But overall, I mean, that's a pretty good deal of Eric Hosmer for under 4K against a righty. So I like that. I like Kane at 32. I think that's a really good value, and kind of the guys I'm looking at here.
Yeah, definitely. And on the White Sox side, I'm okay with their prices if you want to take some shots in GPPs. Obviously, you look at Duffy. I mean, he's been a strong arm, really over the stretch of when he's kind of hopped back into the starter role. But obviously, still some home run potential for some of these guys. The Todd Frazier price is much easier to kind of deploy if you wanted to in tournaments at 3,600. Obviously, Abreu, Melky Cabrera, if you wanted to give him a look, I don't mind that.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. I guess between Lester, Duffy, and Kluber, Lester's first off the list, and then if you really got a nitpick, I'd definitely say this White Sox team is more targetable than the Angels. So I'm in agreement there. If you want to take some tournament shots, and I mean they are all relatively cheap, so that's a nice upside thing as well.
Yeah, definitely. So that's going to wrap things up with the DraftKings Daily Trot. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all great tools and content.